Hey there. Yes, the ABC of sales. ABC for many, many years in sales stood for always be closing. And in many areas of sales, it still applies today. But I have an idea that if you want to be more successful in sales, ABC needs to switch to ABL, which means always be leaving. And to put some logic behind that and give you something to work on, stay tuned. Hey there, Ian here once again, and it's a pleasure to be able to be with you. I hope this is catching you happy, healthy, and strong. Yes, for many years, ABC stood for always be closing. And I had a reminder of how that doesn't work today recently when I was killing time in a shop that sold electrical and furniture products, big store. And I was wandering around the TV section and it struck me that who is going to be able to make sense of buying a TV? There are different manufacturers. There's LG, there's Sony, there's Panasonic, there's Samsung, all these different manufacturers. And there's always different technologies. There's QLED, OLED, LED, LCD, and there's even a QD OLED. And I'm thinking, I would put a sizable bet on Mr. or Mrs. Average walking into this department and not having a clue which manufacturer was better than another one or most suitable for my home or wherever I was going to install this thing, and what technology, of the different LED, LCD combinations, which is going to be best. It is a very, very confusing situation to be in. And I began to think about sales. And really, when we help a customer to solve a problem, when we help a customer to buy something that they need to solve a problem, the key thing that we want to be aiming for is to help them make a good decision. That's what we really want. When we go into a shop, for example, unless you're just window shopping and killing time, when you go into a shop, we want to solve a problem that we have. We want something to solve a problem that we have. And moreover, when we walk out of the shop with the thing that we bought, we want to have made a good decision. That's why we're so fearful sometimes of going into sales situations, because we don't want to be taken advantage of. We want to make a good decision. Now, a great example of this was, and I don't know the name of this person, but this person was a very, very successful car salesman. And he was interviewed and they asked him, why in this sort of cutthroat environment, and by the way, the car salesman is a persona of salesman that's persisted for decades, because, back in the day, the car salesman had a lot more information about the car than the buyer did. He knew the history, and it was quite easy for unscrupulous car salesmen to take advantage of customers, and they could walk away with a real dog of a car and not realize it. So that persona has persisted for a while. But they asked this guy, what is the secret to being most successful in sales? And he said, well, it's not that difficult. I don't focus on selling them this car that they want now. I focus on selling them the next car. I said, well, how does that work? He said, well, sometimes people come in wanting a new car or think they want a new car. And I asked them some questions. And often, through those questions, they actually don't need a new car right now. Something along the lines of, and I don't know, I'm making this up, but something along the lines of, what car do you drive now? Where do the kids go to school? Where do you work? How many trips a week do you do? What's the gas mileage? Has it been serviced properly? And then you can say, well, the car that you've got now actually doesn't need changing. If you hang on to it for 12 months, the resale value is only going to drop ever so slightly with this model of car. You can put some money aside that you would have spent on the new car for 12 months. You'll have a bigger deposit to put on the new car, which means your financing, if you're going to finance it, will be less. So you'll be in a better financial position a year from now. If you come back a year from now, and we're happy to help you, you'll be in a better position. Now that guy lost, in quotes, lost the sale. But the customer walked away with having made a good decision. They feel that it was the right thing to do. And if he's done the maths correctly, which he often does, they're going to be better off a year from now. Now, where do you think they would refer other clients to that they're talking about cars? Probably this guy, because he's not pushy. He doesn't make ABC always be closing. No, the sale didn't mean that much to him right there. He was leaving the sale if the client didn't feel it was a good decision. So, we human beings are very, very interesting subjects to study. We're logical beings, but we're also psychological. And we use our emotions to make decisions a lot more than we realise. We justify it with logic, but we make emotional decisions. I was buying a gift for a family member, and we bought that gift as a family because we were going to visit this family member overseas. It was a significant birthday. We bought a nice gift. But the great thing about it was we had a good experience buying that thing. And when we gifted the thing that we bought to that family member, we passed on some of that emotion in the exchange. When it was the birthday, we passed on the emotion to that person, and it all felt good. And I believe that in sales, that's really, really important for our long-term success. Now, what do I mean? Just go back to ABL, always be leaving. If we are trying to push a sale, if we're trying to push a sale onto someone, I don't think, like, can dogs smell fear? I don't know, but customers can sense when we are beginning to push our products on to that person. And then they begin to feel that it might not be the best decision that they're going to make. It might be lopsided. It might be better for the salesperson than it is for me as the customer. And the minute that balance tends to tip, then the customer themselves starts to rethink their decision. Is this going to be good for me? Because it seems to be very, very good for somebody else, and what's the catch? And once that that thought process starts to begin, it's unlikely or less likely that a sale is going to be made and the customer doesn't solve their problem. So ABL is always be leaving, always be giving yourself the flexibility and the calmness to say, look, I am just here to help you make the best decision possible. And if that decision is buying our solution, great, let's help you get there. But I'm not here to close the sale and maybe put you in a defensive position and maybe walk out with the wrong thing. So always be leaving, always be relaxed enough to walk away from a sale if you don't think it's right. And this is going to benefit you in the longer term. Now, so this applies to complex products. If you're selling if you're selling some software that you've developed, if you're selling a complex product, if you're even selling a plate of food at a restaurant, if it feels like it's a good decision, you're much more likely to close the sale, to end up with a sale in place. I don't like the word close, but secure a sale. So, bringing it together. If your questions and dialogue sort of begin to feel that whatever you're selling is not the right thing for the customer, it's not going to be that perfect fit, then maybe it is time to be leaving. Maybe it's a time to explain to the customer, like the car salesman did in the earlier example, that this might not be the best fit for them at this time. You, in that instance, would not have closed the sale, but you would have secured the relationship for future sales, and that sentiment gets shared among other peers and other relationships, and this makes us more successful over the longer term in sales. If we keep going for the quick kill, the quick sale, we might be short-term successful but long-term unsuccessful and unfulfilled in our profession in sales. So I hope that did give you something to think about and some inspiration. Questions are the main tool in your toolbox for helping a customer make a good decision. Ask lots of questions, and if it feels wrong for either you or the client, it probably is. So let's transform ABC to ABL and have a much more fulfilling career as a professional salesperson. I hope that made sense, and until we share again, take care of each other.